Welcome to Cracks and Crevices from FunnyTank, where we look at the spaces in between life and find interesting things to talk about and observe. I have in mind, I'll call strategic seating, okay? And now, who thinks about this stuff? So I have this idea about all kinds of observations about where and how you choose to seat yourself at events, on airplanes, in different places where there's seating. It could be, didn't even think of this one. There's classroom seating. It's a talk about it. I mean, this is something that people spend a lot of time thinking about in life, and I don't know that too many people observed it, but think about I would. It's just starting with that one from school, right? Or if you went to take a class now, even adults do this, right? You find that as a parent, you go to your kid's school, they have some event, a PTA thing, whatever it is, and you go in there, and I can already see people in their 40s and 50s, there's 4 guys sitting in the very back row. There's no one there yet. The whole place is empty. They picked the very last row. They're over there. The chair's leaning back. They recreated 9th grade. And then you see that one person come in. They look very studious looking, and it's a 45-year-old mom. She sits right in the front row, sitting up like this. She's got her bag and notes out ready. I'm like, what do you have notes for? We're here talking about the class field trip. You need the notes ready. So as a kid or then all the way through to an adult, there's a whole strategic way that you think about seating, and there's a lot that goes into that, right? Have you ever, it's not for nothing that people are somebody's well, I know I have to get up to go to the bathroom at least two times this next hour. So I just drank 4 coffees, so I'm going to be sitting over here. I know I got to leave early. I got to have a view of the clock where I don't have to pull up my arm or look at my phone. The clock is right there. I don't have to divert from. I look like I'm looking right at the speaker, but the clock is right behind them, so I know exactly when I got to leave. Someone else is thinking if I sit in the very back row, it really irritates me when the people behind me are tapping my chair, and it drives me nuts. So I always try to sit in the back or the side. That's kind of the mafia thing. You don't want anyone behind you or on this. That's strategic seating in restaurants, right? That's a whole other area. If you're in the mafia,
that's a good one,
right? If you're in the mafia, in the restaurant seating, people go to. And by the way, especially New York people, maybe it's New York Jews and Italians. You cannot go to a restaurant. I know when I go to a restaurant, depending on who I'm with, I usually wait near when the maitre d' brings the family or the people down to their seat. I stay there because I know the first place they get to is not going to be where we end up sitting. It's going to go over there. There's a balcony seat. There's one in the back of school close to the kitchen. This one has a view. I don't have a view. We don't all have a view, but we need a booth. Hey, we got to have the booth. No, I got chairs. No, you don't like the chairs. You got to you can't please everyone. And I know for sure, at least with my family, I don't care who it is, my past family with my parents and my siblings, and my family, my wife, all I know is hang out for a few minutes because you just don't know where you're going to seating. Sometimes I even wait till they sit down, serve them water. I go to the bathroom. I'm good chance when I get back they'll be in a different location. Before I get settled down, I wait to see where we're actually going to sit. There's a whole strategy around where people are going to sit. But then the first thought that I had about this was what happens when you go to let's say a theater or some kind of performance, and there's a whole nother strategy about that because people are worried. They sit down. I got to get up. What if I'm going to get up? How do I get to the bathroom first during intermission? There's usually a huge line. If I can get out there right away, typically women will think that. Or, the snack bar will be open just for the 5 minutes during intermission. I got to get up there. I want to be the first one. I noticed they only had 3 jelly donuts. If I can get there first, I might be the one to get that. People think of all these strategies, and I don't know what the etiquette is. Sometimes I'm the guy. I'm sitting there. I'm in the middle of a row because I don't think strategically in advance, right? I get there and I think, in retrospect, I should have sat here. I could have sat there. You know what I mean? I could have seen the fountain view if I only had planned this ahead. I never think about it. I just get there, and then I'm sitting there in the middle of the aisle. All of a sudden, I gotta, something comes up. I got to go to the bathroom, and I'm there in the middle of the aisle, and I look down this way, and there's 18 people not looking like they're going to get up and move. It happens to be that precise moment of tension at the show. Romeo's about to propose, and you're I get up now. I don't know what's going on. I think what happens if you're in one of these moments in the show, no one's supposed to be getting up or coming out. They won't even, if you were outside, they won't let you back in. Like, if you get up and go out, will they not let you back in until another intermission or something? Like, I don't know what these rules are, but it's different for opera versus symphony versus a Broadway show. It's all so there's all so kind of where you sit has all these different implications.
Yeah.
And then there's people. By the way, just people in general are. I don't know what to say. Some people, I think, will keep their foot stuck out just enough, or their bag or their umbrella right there, just hoping to see someone go by and take a faceplant down the aisle, or like flop over onto Aunt Marge's lap, and all of a sudden you're in some big lady, like, I got a gag, you fell over. You know what I mean? That's happened to me. And then, by the way, just as a side note about theaters, have you ever noticed, I don't know if it's either people are bigger or theaters they're designing them more like airlines or something. I've gone to some shows lately where it looks beautiful. You got those comfortable, cushy seats, and you go to sit down, and then all of a sudden your knees are up in, like the other chair in front of you is like right here, and you see, and then, by the way, that whenever that happens, I always get some beautiful woman in front of me with long flowing hair, and she's doing one of these, the hair, she's going like this with her hair, and I'm like 6 inches behind your hair. There's like stuff flying out of hair, as beautiful as it is, there's still dandruff, things are flying, or your perception of that, like you got someone else has a scarf or a coat, you ever see those people, they put their coat on the back of the seat, and it's like, the coat's like halfway into your seat,
that's
good.
That's drawing the line right there, exactly.
By the way, when you take this sort of seating thing onto the airlines, that's a whole other thing. What's the etiquette? I feel like there's a different etiquette if you're in the aisle, middle, window. When you're in the aisle, fine. I mean, in fact, that's why I only choose an aisle now. Because otherwise, there's so much, the amount of stress that I have about, can I get up? When can I get up? I got to get a disc. This person's sleeping. They're doing someone takes out, what I love it? When I'm in the aisle, this is what happens to me. I sit down, I wait for a while, you're flying, you settled into the flight, and then you get all your stuff out. It takes 7 minutes, you get your bag out, you stand up, you get your bag down, you get your computer out, you get your cords just right, you get your notes, and everything's all balanced just the right way. You got your drink over here, you get everything's all settled in, and that's when the person next to you goes, excuse me, I got to get up. You're like, I got to go through 7 minutes of I got to put my drink over here, take my thing, put it back in my bag, everything, get everything, unplug, unseatbelt, it takes 7 minutes, and then that guy gets up, comes back, then the guy in the window goes, and then, by the way, if I'm the guy at the window, it's kind of a dangerous thing, because I don't want to get up, I don't want to disturb people. I can sit there getting deep vein thrombosis on the flight. I'm like, I don't know, deep vein thrombosis or disturbed. Nah, I think I'll take the thrombosis. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to get up. I just felt, that's why I never really take the aisle, the window, unless I know for sure that it's, if it's too long a flight, it's in trouble for me. And then just the last comment on the airline thing is, if you ever see people do literal gymnastics to get over the I've looked over.
I know what you mean.
I've looked over and I'd see, like, last time I was on flight, I saw this like really small, flexible Chinese girl with like one leg up over here over the seat, and she was doing it, and because she was sitting next to some 275-pound, like 6'7" guy who was sleeping, and she was trying to get over him without. She had like one foot on the armrest, and she had her other leg going, and she got off and over the guy without waking him up. I mean, that was a bit. But if he woke up at the wrong time, it would have been a sexual experience.
Oh my god! And when she landed, she was like a perfect 9.8, like this.
She stuck the landing on the aisle, right? Exactly. Of course, just in time for the cart to go by and flatten her out. You know what I mean? Those carts are moving fast. You got to watch out. But But listen, the other element of strategic seating that I find is absolutely crucial. This is the one I do think about. It's how do you sit in a way so that you have no chance of actually interacting with the performers on the stage. That's the part that I draw the line, all right? So as an example, like imagine you're at like a show, a performance or whatever, and you're getting up, something's going on. The worst thing that can happen is when the actors are interacting with you in the audience. So for example, I had one idea, like, oh yeah, imagine you're there and all of a sudden, your phone rings and the performer stops and says, Why don't you pick that up? We can wait. Yeah. As I said, Romeo was about to propose here, but, no hurry. Who's calling anyway? Please say hi for us. You know what I mean? You're in the audience, and talk about mortifying. The strategic seating then is close to the exit, because you'd be at a point where 1,000 people in the audience are all looking at you like with the death stare. Like, you know what I mean? We came here. We each paid $7,500 each, and you interrupted our show. You know,
death stare.
That is the worst. I mean, I once heard a funny one. Talk about the audience, the stage interaction with the audience. I once heard Ringo Starr stopped his performance once, and this was great because he's a hilarious guy. And he goes, would you people mind putting some of these phones away? He's like, I can't imagine going to a concert and saying like, this was great. I saw the band through the screen of the guy in front of me. So he stopped and told everyone to put their phones away. But so and look, the other example of where the audience kind of gets dragged into the show that it really kills me is comedy. And I think we had an experience once where this happened. But to me, the worst thing is comedy performances where they make you part of the show. And when I say make you, I mean this is not a choice. You're involved, right? You're over there, and the comedian all of a sudden comes over to you. The spotlight's on you. Whatever it is, the whole thing stops, and they start asking you questions. And I'm like, I'm here to like sit back. I want to enjoy the show, right? I don't want to be part of the entertainment. I'm not getting paid. I don't like it when you make the show about me. And how can that be fun? I'm undergoing inquisition. You're hitting me up with the 20 questions, and God forbid I don't answer right, or I don't answer. Me, like sometimes I'm a little cranky or a little edgy or something. You don't give them the right answer. You try. By the way, I try to be funny and I make something up wrong. All of a sudden I'm getting ridiculed. Now that's great for the rest of the audience, right? Something about humans, we love seeing people squirm. We love seeing people get embarrassed, go beet red, but that's not fun for that person. So in terms of strategic seating, if I ever go to a show where there's any chance of being drawn into the actual show, I want to be in the last row. I want to be behind a column. Like I want to go to a thing where like I got to go like this to see, just in case the guy starts going looking around the audience, then I can go be back behind the column. You know what I mean? Like I do not want to be in the show, and it's just anything they can do to embarrass you. And what if you were there to be incognito? You're in LA, you go to a comedy show, or wherever you are. You're just trying to hide out. You had a really tough day. All of a sudden, you're on stage. Hey! They got the spotlight on you. They're asking you questions. Well, I got fired today. You got to answer. Like, what if it's the worst day? You went to comedy just to get relief. So and I will say that at some points I'm like, if that does happen to me, I want to just be like, okay, buddy, if you insist that I'm in, then I'm really in. All right, I'm gonna jump up on the stage. It's my show now. Okay. Imagine thinking that. That's like you can literally have a fist fight with the comedian or something. But and I will say though that the worst ones for that are the late night shows. That's why I never want to be on Kimmel or Fallon or whatever it is, because they'll pick some guy out and they will embarrass the hell out of them. I mean, they'll ask them about who they're sitting with, what's their sex life happening, they're dating, are they married, what's the kids, what kind of job, are you make a living, what's happening with you, what kind of car do you drive, you're over there national TV.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and some people actually enjoy this. You can see that some people, like the person running down the stairs at The Price is Right, when she gets called like this, like some people really enjoy it though.
Yeah, well,
and I don't know what's going on in their mind, but they really they don't mind that odd attention.
Well, to me, that it brings up the point about what I call the plant, because I think those people. I mean, I hate to be such a cynic or whatever, but I think when it goes just a little too well, like as you said, on Let's Make a Deal, they call you out and the person's like, ah! They're running down the thing like, where are you from? You know what I mean? Like you never seen like they're going. Right, just so they can maybe like guess the price of that box of popcorn, and they're like they're all, I feel like there's plants, especially like when they go, especially when it's like, again, when I used to watch Letterman or whatever it is, they go into the audience, or and I feel like they've already planned it. You know what I mean? The people know that's going to happen. So
I think so too.
Yeah. So
And they strategically place them in certain seats, I guess, you know?
Exactly. So it's strategic seating all again from a different perspective.
Every time you see the show, you notice it's the same seat that the comedian's going to pick somebody out, you know?
Yeah. So
how about in like church or like in temple? Ooh. I mean, I don't know how often you went to temple, but in church, I remember because you're dealing with pews. I don't know how it works in a synagogue. I assume it's the same thing. You have these long pews that people sit in, and then all of a sudden you're 8 people in, and wherever you are in that kind of dictates a lot of things during the course of the mass. But the most important thing is how quickly you can get out, you know, when everyone kind of exits. But even more importantly, when you first get to church, you don't want to kind of be there too early. So at some points you end up making sure that you're there late, so you only catch the last 20 minutes. So the seating is critical. You know, I don't know how about in temple.
You bring that up, so that adds the element of timing. It's like the fourth dimension to the seating seating strategery. All right. I mean, you're right, because same thing with temple. You know, it's the problem with the temple is it's not consistent. I don't know if churches, if they're more similar, but every synagogue I've been to, it's not that many, but they're wildly different. You can go sit down in one, and you can be like, it's 20, 25 minutes. It's enjoyable. There's a speech or something. Others will be like 2 hours, 25 minutes. You get there on time. You can be like, what am I? So the strategic seating there is, again, where can you get your phone out and just, do a little research or reading or check your email and your news while it's going on. There's something. What's the word? Irreverent or sacrilege. I don't know what the word is. I do feel pretty guilty. You ever take out like a phone during church or something? I don't know if you go. No. That's the last time you went.
I rarely go to church, but I mean, I don't think they had phones when I used to go to church.
Yeah, no, they didn't. If they did, you'd be bringing in your rotary phone with a long line back to the thing. Hello. If the phone rang in church in those days, it was presumed to be something else.
Well, but usually what happens is the big event is the communion, or when you take the bread, I guess, right? Yeah. And that's usually about the last 10 minutes of the whole mass. So as long as you can get to the church within 5 minutes of that event, you qualify as having gone to the whole church.
Right.
So usually the back seating area is where everyone piles in at the last minute so that their moms and everyone feels like they went to church. And then you get 10 minutes later, you're out of there,
Yeah, what a great group.
You're shaking hands with everybody. Everyone thinks you've been there the whole time, as long as you're back,
Yeah. Well, speaking of the strategic timing, it makes me think. I remember my family used to do this. My dad used to do this. We'd go somewhere like I think this happened in D.C., where it was like a strategy for going to some sort of concert, but you didn't buy the tickets. So you show up at intermission, and sometimes they'll give away. Someone going out will not be coming back, and they'll be like, "Oh, here's you can do the second half." So I've seen the second half of many great performances. That's all you got. Oh. I mean, it was like I can't believe it. I'm thinking back now, like that's the strategy we had. It was, by the way, in our case, it had more to do with not that my dad didn't want to buy tickets, but like we didn't even know if we were going. We were having dinner. We were still having dinner during the first part of the show, and we'd be like, "What are we doing now? Oh, let's go buy."
Wait, I think we can make it. Intermission's up in about.
Exactly. We'd be like, whatever. Let's drop into, we'll see the second half of Les Mis or something. We're passing by. What's going on right now? Let's go in. Let's see what it is. I've seen bits and pieces. Sometimes, so the strategic timing, plays a lot of roles.
No doubt about it.
So,
God.
Anyway.
Well, I hate to bring up the seating thing. From an Asian perspective, but boy, they're obsessed, absolutely obsessed with seating, especially in business meetings or almost in any setting.
Really?
Like if you go to a restaurant with a Chinese group, let's say it's business or any in type of setting, and I've had this happen a couple times when there just weren't any circular tables. They just ran out of the circular tables. They only had square tables left.
Yeah.
The group will, depending on how aggressive and assertive they are, they'll literally just say, no, we'll wait until the circular. They cannot sit in a non-circular table.
Well, I love. Go ahead. No, what I love about that is it ties into our other ongoing topic of superstitions and behaviors that people have. So there has to do with luck, right? If you believe that sitting at a square table is bad luck for your business meeting, and then the meeting doesn't go well.
It's kind of like bad luck. I almost think it's superstition. It's definitely tied into their culture. I mean, I think round tables or square tables have been your standard table options for millennia, right? Yeah. It's not that Europeans didn't have square round, but have you noticed that growing up, Chinese restaurants always had round tables. Did you not notice that?
Well, I know they have them, and I can totally picture the most sort of Chinese places that I've been to in Chinatown. They all are the round tables. I totally agree. But then I can picture so many others with just a regular old square table.
And some of the smaller ones, they were square because it's just much more efficient to have square. Yeah. But in the nicer restaurants, they're round. And then there's a whole procedure of every business meeting. Let's say you go with 12 people into a room, and you have 3 people, 4 people on the client side, and 5 people on your side. The top 2 guys will stand there and try to figure out where everybody sits relative to everybody else in that unique dynamic. And every meeting I've ever been to in China, when you go into that room, you don't sit down. You stand and wait for everyone to assign. And then it's a big thing. Oh, no, you sit there. Oh, no. He should sit there. It's like
what you just opened up? I had no idea how big this topic is. You just made me realize that, think about wedding seating. Anytime there's a formal seating, what table? Your uncle's gonna sit with my brother. That's never gonna. Sat down. The ex is sitting with the thing. How about a party of divorced families, and then they're having the party for the kids. Who's sitting there? The dividers. Sometimes they have room dividers, right? With the table at the front, but there's a divider in the room. This person's up front going for my family on this side of the room, and those of you in the Lido deck over here, it's the strategic seating. You're right. In a business, you ever go to a conference, and then all of a sudden, everyone they call everyone in for the lunch or whatever, and you're looking around. You got to check your list. I needed to meet the guy from this company. Sitting over here. I got to run over there. If you seat too early. Right, sometimes you can take the risk. I can sit down too early, and then all the losers come and join you. All the stragglers that didn't know, they see you there, there's someone I can sit with. And then and then if you go too late, you sit at somebody else. Oh, somebody's already sitting here. Everyone's muscling in. So to your point, the seating thing. But before I forget, as I was thinking about the restaurant thing, right? In my favorite kind of Chinese restaurants downtown, I go in. And unless if I'm with you or a group of people, often we'll get our own table. But if you're by yourself, they'll put you at a table, right, with other people. Speaking of strategic thing, I wonder what they're thinking. Let's see, this guy looks like I think he'll fit with these guys. How do they decide where to put you? So it's so fast. You've just opened up an entire another world though of literally the incredible strategic things. Sometimes I think it's better in those events not even to sit down. Just walk around, you pretend like you're going to sit. You look at this table, you talk to a few people there, but then you get up, you go over here, you're being very strategic.
Hey, by the way, growing up, was your family kitchen table a round table?
Yeah.
I think I'm now thinking there might be a whole bunch of research on the psychological impact of growing up sitting in a round table versus a square table. We grew up on a square table.
That's what happened.
Warring factions.
Yeah.
It was always warring.
But here's the bizarre thing. Even with a round table, we still had spots. This was my part of the round table near this part of the room, mainly because the TV was over here, whatever. Because the other one, I was in the winter. I was on this seat. No one knew the heater was right behind me. I got the extra heat coming up there. It was very strategic. And by the way, I don't think. Go ahead.
But that order in your family, where you sat. And where your 2 sisters sat relative to your mom and dad, that's kind of like a family structure, Well,
in these days, I wonder what's changed in the family. It used to be the dad, you know what I mean? That's the dad's seat. No one mess with the dad's seat. Today the dad's you're in the garage. Dad, well, lucky if you're gonna eat here. It's the dad's like the dog today. They put out the plate of food out in the group. Dads just don't have clout anymore. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. I mean, I would say up until 10, 15 years ago, you had that picture of the guy sitting there with the newspaper,
Right. But that's in the den.
That's where the dad sits.
The dad sits over there, but then when he comes into the I remember as a kid when I would go over to some other kid's house for dinner. God forbid I sat down in the dad's seat. That happened one time. Oh no, that's Mr. So and So's seat. You're over here. You know, I mean, like that's like imagine yourself showing up today and they said and like I literally be like, son, you have to move. That's where I sit. Like what's the, they're all.
Maybe you have a more relaxed, easygoing family. In my family, with my siblings, they have these little kids, and so when I sit down at the table with them, if I sit in their dad's seat, they'll say no. They'll tell me to move.
The
little kid will tell me to move. Like, what are you doing sitting in my parents' seat?
No, they do that today. But like and then there's those awkward. That's a whole nother topic that we're going to bring up a different time, which is the awkward experience of dropping in on someone else's family thing. Because the thing is, in a family like setting, all kinds of stuff comes up. Conversations happen. That's where they work out the worst things. They talk about the worst, the best, the whatever it is. It's like all the dirty laundry comes out. And then some guest comes over, right? So the guest is there. All that dirty laundry is just under the surface. No one's talking about it. You know what I mean? They're all going like, pass the chicken. You know, meanwhile, they're saying like, pass the chicken, you motherfucker. You didn't do your homework for 2 weeks, son. No more TV for you. Whatever. Like, it's all going on under this. So you're like, you're invading that environment. So it's kind of like, that's why when I meet families, I prefer to go out. Hey, we got some pizza, right? Yeah, I'll meet you at Vinny's. So anyway,
seating's it's something we do. We don't sit as much as we sleep, but we sit probably an hour or two a day, every day with people.
Yeah.
So it's a big part of our lives.
Well, and then we could also
sitting in cars and planes. You know.
We didn't even talk about cars, the shotgun thing, which I'm not sure what's called shotgun. You know, and where you sit, do you get in the middle seat, the back seat, the front? Do you prefer where do you the car thing? By the way, when you get on a train, are there certain things? You ever sit facing forward or backwards when the train is going? Like this is like literally seating. It's like it's a deep topic. And by the way, you just brought up strategic sleeping. I don't just sleep in one way. I got a whole strategic thing. So anyway,
well, knowing when to sleep when you're in a seating position, that's critical too. So no one sees you. That's another.
If you mean if like your mouth hangs open. So anyway, for today, I think that covers the topic. But I had one idea for a bonus topic for a couple minutes, which sort of ties naturally into what you're saying, which is funny because one of these subjects I had on the list of bonus topics is, I'll call it the one thing from childhood, okay? What is one thing that happened in childhood that was impactful, embarrassing, you remember it really well, or whatever? And the one thing I was going to bring up, for me, and this relates to what we were just talking about with your house or whatever, was Sylvester Stallone movies. Right? It'll either go nowhere or it'll be an interesting conversation. But in our era, the impact of Rocky, and in particular Rambo, was like huge. I think there are more people that started exercise programs, I don't know what, but it was like, I don't know if that would go over so well today, the idea of this like really kind of raw, manly, the boxer, he's a fighter, he's a warrior, he goes, later on he's going to Vietnam, he's going to Korea, he's doing, the whole thing with Rambo.
Afghanistan.
Was he in Afghanistan in one of them?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, so that's, I'll bring it up for the very short diversional topic. The one thing from childhood for me was Sylvester Stallone. What about you? Is there one thing you can bring back from childhood that you remember that was like particularly impactful?
Oh, it's funny because I was thinking you were going in the direction of that, very embarrassing moments.
Well, I could, but I'd have to have some of that too.
Impactful, embarrassing. I was kind of preparing for how deep I was going to go, but now I can bring it back a little bit. So, what moves I like
I'll try to match you. I don't know if it's that embarrassing for me, but go ahead.
No. In terms of cultural influences or what have you, I mean, I was not that influenced, but I was a huge fan of Evel Knievel.
Oh yeah. Huge. Me too.
So I kind of wonder, like, was that before Stallone? I think that was before, right?
Evel Knievel, man. I had the car. like a motorcycle thing.
Did you have that thing that you wound up like this?
Yes, yeah.
It's like a shot out,
and it had a ramp, and that's why
and it was a cool motorcycle with like good tires.
Oh yeah, it was one of those.
There was like a little Evel Knievel doll on there.
It was, and it was one of those things where you rev it up, and it gets like a whole motion thing, and then it flies off. And by the way, I think that's why they wrote that episode of Happy Days where the Fonz is like on his motorcycle, he's challenging some guy to like how many cars can they jump over, rows of tires. It was all tied to the Evel Knievel thing. So
talk about the Fonz. Were you there with me? I
no,
remember.
but you said that is forever etched in my memory. The photo of you and Henry Winkler. I mean, you got to be from our era to appreciate the level of gravity of that, you know.
And I got to tell you, man, it was the only time, and not that I've had many, where I handled a celebrity moment well. And I've had some times when I've blown it.
Yeah.
Fairly recently too, and but that one I handled with composure, respect, and I think I ingratiated him. It was the perfect balance of things. So the Fonz was absolutely for me a huge. Like, I don't know about you, but for me the Fonz seared into me like I guess the way Rambo seared into you. Like it just like. I couldn't believe somebody could be that cool.
It was
like, I was shocked at how cool that guy was.
I was the Fonz for Halloween at least 3 years in a row. I had a shirt that said "A." That was your meeting him was like the closest I came to meeting him. That was meaningful to me. The fact that you met him and I have a photo of it. Remember that was, by the way, around the same time I sent you a photo of me. Taking a sort of selfie with Regis Philbin in the background.
Oh, I told that was weird.
That was like he was over there at the water cooler, and I was over there, with my computer taking a picture. But anyway, so that's absolutely hilarious. The Happy Days thing. So, okay, now for our sort of final recurring segment, I've got our funny tip of the day. And for today's observation about, what makes things funny and how do you engage funny, because again, one of the themes of FunnyTank here, one of the main themes of what we're doing is figuring out how people can engage their own internal sense of, not humor, just how do you observe and engage in the funny that's happening all around you, just makes life better. So one of the things I was thinking about is the use of extremes, okay? So when you're in some environment where there's a quantity or a length of time or something, throw out something that's like so outrageously extreme and people will be either confused or they'll find it particularly hilarious. So like, I don't know, like someone was asking me for directions, and I might do something like saying, I think about it, you go down, you go this way, they're trying to take a walk and catch some, some location. It's about, you'll be there in about 2.5 hours. And they'll be like, what are you, and the whole, and the whole thing is they're like, what, are you really, what? And the whole point, but then you have to be, what's crucial is the timing of when you reveal that you were being funny. Because if you go too long, you're just a dick, right? If you give it up too soon, 2.5 hours, like if you do it too soon, you got to let the joke, get some legs, all right? But you could do something, do things like that. Or I've done things like, call up a restaurant and be like, yeah, you have a reservation, for 7 p.m. Yeah, sure. How many people? We got 42 people. We'll be in. The bus is coming. It's going to meet us there. It might be 60 people. All of a sudden, now that one you got to be careful. They're like, I don't. Like that one's a shit. Most likely not that funny. You know what I mean? Like this is where you got to like figure out which ones are funny. But just always look for extremes of either minimal, maximal, temperature things, quantities, volumes. how
Good.
far you went, how long you worked out, whatever it is. You can look for opportunities to do something extreme. So that's the funny tip of the day.
All right.
And just for the wrap up, reminding you to keep your eyes, ears, and especially your nose open because you never know when you're going to smell something funny. And thanks for joining us today for Cracks and Crevices. We could, this is when we would break to callers, okay? But we're still behind on our tech setup and everything, so we don't have the callers or the letters or emails to read. Letters, in case someone mails in some letters, we'll get them in by mail. I'll be opening some envelopes,